I would never think someone like you, would agree to collaborate with me. Like me, I was really self-conscious to start showing myself. Do you ever feel self-conscious to put up a camera, talk about your life, show your life?
Do the work necessary, to be comfortable with who you are.
Have you ever had moments where you wanted to give up?
Well, after freaking out, and after having meltdowns. Fit my fat head is good.
It's not a fat head. It is not a fat head. Well, I guess we can start now.
Okay, awesome.
So, hello YouTube. I am here with Chewning. Yeah, you. This feels surreal.
Yeah, welcome. It's a great change of events for you. I'm sure right now you would be enduring the blistering cold of the Northeast, right?
In the blistering cold. I don't miss that. So I just want to say I was recording an Instagram story on my drive here.
I saw it, yeah.
Yeah, and I was saying, to be completely honest, I feel in the influencer space, kind of feel like a nobody, right? I'm from Buffalo, New York. Don't live around those driven, motivated YouTubers per se.
They all got out of the cold.
They all got out of the cold, and I follow people like you, and you're one of the main people who has really inspired me. And I would never think someone like you, would agree to collaborate with me. But it just shows the power of, if you want something, take a shot.
Yeah.
And look at you were so nice, and you're like, yeah, let's do it. Monday morning, I'm like, Chase Chewning said yes, what? So thank you.
No, seriously, I was telling you, you're very welcome. I was telling you before we got started that I wish more people did that, because that, still very much is what I hope for when I reach out to certain people. Yes, it's been a great ride the past few years, and we've grown and everything that, we do whatever for it, but it would never happen if it weren't for those connections. And I think a lot of people probably watching or listening right now don't take action on those things, because I'm guilty of it, still guilty of it. Like, well, no, they're gonna say no, I don't want to bother them, but you presented a great value, a great option, and I know that what you're doing is so important and passionate to you, and that's what I try to do with my work too. So
speaking of, I think the point of this, I want to interview Chase, because if you're watching this and you're anything like me, you're not satisfied with the 9 to 5. Maybe you want to make an impact in this world, or you have some sort of dream, but you think it's just way too far beyond your reach. I think it's easy to look at someone like Chase, pull up his Instagram, pull up his YouTube, his podcast. You may see how many followers he gets, how many views he gets, and it's like, a little discouraging. As much as you motivate me, it's easy to look at someone like you and think, I'm never going to be like that. And so I want to talk to him, for me personally, to get advice, but also just to talk about the person behind the influencer. He has he has challenges he faces. He got here somehow. He didn't just wake up one day and have a successful platform. So I just want to get to know you and the journey of how you got here.
Absolutely.
So for people who don't know you, and I'll have your your Instagram and everything linked in the description. Who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, good question. I find myself still trying to cultivate, or curate rather, a really succinct answer to that question these days. I'm sure you're probably beginning to relate too.
I relate to that so hard,
what
Chase.
Do you do? Well, first of all, how much time do you have?
Right.
And
Take your time.
Yeah, right. I've gotten better at answering that by kind of just figuring out who I'm talking to. So to someone like you, who is in the space, social media, writing, content creation. I just can say content creator. I can say YouTuber. I can say podcaster. But to people, honestly, even a lot of people like in my generation and above, like my parents, I tell them, oh, I'm a fitness and nutrition online consultant. Yeah, I'm a podcaster. I'm a coach, a health coach. These days, I've kind of shifted into telling people I'm an ever forward coach. And they're like, well, what the hell is that?
But they'll know. So
yeah, I hope so. I'm a husband. I'm a veteran. I served in the Army for 6 years. A lot of different, hats that I put on.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's the modern day entrepreneur. He or she wears a lot of different hats.
Yeah, it's just one giant hat, and we just take off layers, I guess, depending upon who we're talking to or who we are that day. You know?
Right. Well, I want to kind of get into each individual hat at some point, but I want to back up a little bit to your childhood, to growing up. You have a passion for self-improvement, clearly. You know, you want to help people be the best versions of themselves, and you want to be the best version of yourself. What do you think sparked that in you?
Good question. Kind of looking back, I've used this before. I really love this analogy of, I used this to describe kind of like the entrepreneur mindset. But I think for me personally, applying it to my own life history is I was always on like this dimmer switch. And the spark for, your question, what was the spark for like self-improvement? I kind of always felt like I was on low, like on the dimmer switch on low. And then over the years of really good things happening to me in my life and horrible things happening to me in my life and me doing good things and me doing terrible things, kind of just like the switch, the dimmer went up and down a little bit. But it took a period of my time not too long ago where I finally noticed that it was going up and down, and that wasn't okay with me anymore. I wanted it. I was like, why should I be going down? Why should I be going backwards? But yeah, I just decided that I only wanted it to keep moving upwards, and that's when like the true inner work began.
So you were in the Army, straight out of high school. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so the military for my family was very much like a tradition, but it was never like, hey, Chase, this is what we do. It was not like, you will serve in the military kind of thing. And I really looked up, especially with my dad. I looked up to him immensely, and I, in a way, kind of like idolized him. You know, he, like, the type of husband he was, the father he was, him being an entrepreneur after his time in the military. I was just like, well, if that was the path that he took to get there, I wouldn't mind doing it. So yeah, I was still 17. It was my Christmas break of my senior year in high school. My dad drove me up from Roanoke to Richmond, Virginia. I swore in, and then I graduated high school in May and left for the Army in July.
Wow. So after the Army, then what?
So after the Army, I was kind of like, I was forced out. I had some injuries that wound up getting me medically discharged, and so I went to college.
And how old were you at that point?
I was like, I think just turned 24.
Okay.
Yeah, I did 6 years active duty in the Army. I was like 24. So I was like the old man on campus.
24, so old.
Yeah, right, 24. To be 24 again. Oh, but it was perfect timing because my brother and I are 4 years apart. He's 4 years younger than me, and he was starting college at the same time. Oh. So I'm 4 years older, but we started college at the same time. And that's when I found the job that I had for the last 3.5 years. Was an exercise physiologist / health coach / personal trainer / nutritionist, kind of all these things at a doctor's office, actually.
Very cool. Yeah. So, as Chase mentioned, he is married, and I was recently listening to an episode of your podcast with you and your wife, and she mentioned when she met you, I thought this was very interesting.
I love this story.
When she met you, you were not very motivated. She said she saw potential. She said the one thing she wanted in a husband is a hard worker, which I relate to. Yeah. And when she met you, she felt like you had so much potential, but you weren't reaching for that. So is that when you were working as a health coach for this hospital?
Right about the time, yeah, which is funny. It was like I was hearing my whole childhood again, you know. To give a little bit of backstory, it was the same thing my dad and stepmom would tell me. I was raised by my dad and stepmom. My parents split when I was really young, and so it was always the same thing. It was never like I was never a problem child or a troublemaker. It was like, Chase, we're just disappointed. You know, you have so much potential. Like, what are you doing? When May and I met, she was very clear from the beginning. When her and I met, like day one, we were like, this is it. Like we were hooked. Like it was hook, line, and sinker for both of us. But she was very clear, very adamant that like, hey, like I love you, but this is what I want my life to look like, and these are the things that I want to accomplish, and I would love for you to be there alongside with me. That I want to move to California. Here we are. You know, I want to, be a business owner. I want to go to grad school. I want to do all these things, and I want someone who also wants those things for themselves. But then we can also come together. And I was like, All right.
Was that a lot at once for you?
I mean, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but
I'm sure.
But also, like, I'm sure you can relate. You know, Middle Eastern women, they can be very direct.
His wife is first generation Iranian, which I relate. I'm first generation Lebanese.
Yeah, so Persian women, they don't mess around. They tell you how it is. It's which I respect and I love. That's one of the things I love about May. Yeah, she was just like, you know, hey, like, you're doing what you love to do. I was working this glorified part-time job, like I said. I would pick up random hours. I was still kind of filling in at the coffee house where we originally met. This place I would work part-time. Yeah, I agreed with her. And up until that point, I never had anybody in my life that I think, not to sound harsh, but I don't think I cared about anybody else enough in my life to want to change myself that much for. And it wasn't like, hey, be this other version of yourself that, you know, isn't real or authentic, or, you know, take a hike. Yeah. But she called me out on, like, my potential. And, like, she was saying these things. I was like, I can't disagree with you, you know? Wow. So that's when, I really started putting myself out there. And I went from the part-time job to the full-time job. And then not even a year into that, no, I think it was, like, just a couple months, she was like, hey, you know, a lot of people in your field get graduate degrees and, you know, do all these things. And again, she was saying all these things that I was just ignoring. And I was like, I don't need to do that. But she brought them to my attention in a very loving way. And so, I went my full-time job. I went to grad school. Shortly after that, her and I moved up. You know, actually my brother and I and her all moved up to DC, Northern Virginia. I was living with my brother for the first year. She was doing her thing with some job stuff. And then we got married, and so she was a catalyst for me very much for what I'm doing now.
Yeah, would you say she is the person or the thing that lit a fire under you?
Quite literally, yeah. So,
I mean, for anyone watching who maybe lacks drive or motivation, you weren't necessarily born this, like, super driven human.
I mean, I think anyone who knows me, like my parents, my family, childhood friends, so, like, I've always been highly energetic and, you know, I guess a traditional go-getter. Yeah. But definitely the amount of drive that I have now and the amount of awareness I have around recognizing the value in that and wanting to surround myself, like literally my physical environment, my social environment. She was very much that person for me.
It was in you. She just kind of helped you tap into it.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay. So she lights a fire under you. You go to grad school. At what point did you decide to leave your corporate job and enter, you know, your own entrepreneur lifestyle?
Yeah. This is perfect timing. We're talking right now towards the end of 2019, and it's about a year since I left. And I had these telltale signs with my last company, and I love my job. I love showing up every day as a health coach, as someone who was tasked with improving the quality of someone else's life. But like we were talking about before, I just got to this point, well, these points time and time again, where I was like, all right, this is what we need to do. This is the feedback we're getting from our patients, our clients. You know, these are the things we're seeing. This is the direction of the industry. We need to do this. We need to do A, B, and C. And in that environment, they're like, all right, well, let's schedule a meeting, to have a meeting, to rope in like a conference call. And in that medical environment, we're tasked with keeping people well, getting them better when they're sick, preventing disease, helping them be more aware of like their family history and hereditary diseases and things like that. And I was like, we're failing them. You know, if that is our job, they don't have the time. Literally, some of those people did not have the time. And I was just beating my head up against the wall for the better part of a year. I guess the short answer for your question is I began to be immensely undervalued. And that really began to trickle into how I showed up to my job. And that sense of fulfillment and that value was being drained, and I really felt sick to my stomach about how it was affecting me. I didn't want to go to work. I knew that I had these people on my client list that day that needed my best and were expecting my best and were looking for my insight, and I didn't care anymore. What is the old saying, you know, be the change you want to see in the world? And I luckily at that point had begun to already dabble in like social media and was aware of all these other people doing similar things, in the fitness nutrition space and doing it for themselves. And so I was like, all right, well, if you guys aren't going to allow me to deliver that value, and you're also going to be taking away that sense of fulfillment, I'm going to find my own fulfillment. I'm going to deliver my own value.
For people watching, I think there's a lot of people online on Instagram who will tell you, go make the career that you want, go quit your 9 to 5, make your own path, but it's not that easy. So if you're feeling you wanted to help people and you were feeling limited by the organization you were working for, did you start doing stuff on the side first before you just dove and carved your own, path? And also, with that question, when did EverForward start? So was that while you were a professional health coach?
So I guess to answer the latter question first, EverForward as a brand had already been introduced to the world. My brother launched EverForward apparel in 2014.
Yeah, I think it was 14.
Maybe late 13 as a concept, but EverForward was something as a concept, as like a logo and a brand, was something Max and I, we would text each other like drawings and designs for EF. We were in college. Probably should have been paying attention in class, but he would like send me like the very first time we ever saw what it could be, what it is now. This right here. He texted me. He was like in business class or something, and I was like, "What do you think about that?" And I was like, "That's cool. That's awesome."
He really designed.
Yeah, he literally just on like.
Wow.
I wish I still had this picture message. He just like drew it. Yeah, so he got started in the whole social media fitness thing.
So he got started. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, you're good.
His brother Max, did he get started before you, or were you guys in talks of like, let's create this brand? And it is based on a message from your father, right?
Yeah,
something your father taught you guys.
Yeah, so EverForward has always been like our family creed, our family mantra. It has its origins in the military. Every unit that you're in the military, or at least in the Army I can speak of, we have a creed. There's a unit saying. And the first unit that our dad was in was a National Guard unit in Virginia, the 116th Infantry Regiment, and their unit saying was EverForward. Okay. So he picked it up from his time in the military. He instilled it in us growing up. And then, unfortunately, we lost him in 2005 to a terminal illness. And all through that time, he lived a life EverForward. He was just still optimistic. He would like ad nauseum. It was like,
it gives me chills.
Yeah, it was like I got so pissed off. So like, just be angry, be mad. But he never was. He was always leading by the example for us. And so that's when we really kind of grabbed hold of it. And it became my license plate. I got it tattooed on my arm. And then, we began to kind of develop this momentum, and especially my brother, when the whole YouTube fitness thing got its start in like 2012, 2013. He wanted to do something with it. His platform was growing, and we always knew that EverForward, we believed in it so much. We believed what it meant to us, and anybody we ever shared a story with felt something and was able to kind of make it their own. So we always knew there was going to be something. Definitely not to the level what it is now, but he applied it to his growing audience at the time and introduced EverForward apparel. I think his first launch was maybe 100 shirts, and now it's in like the tens of thousands. And so EverForward apparel was introduced in 2014, and then as that picked up steam and the audience grew with what he was doing and the apparel went really well, I decided to kind of add my area of specialty to the brand, and we launched EverForward Radio first, before the coaching. And
this is while you were still at your corporate job.
Going back to keeping in line with your question, this was 2016 actually when the concept hit, and it was like summer 2016, and I love podcasts and audiobooks, and it was a great way for me to stay, honestly, like continuing education in my field. I would listen to all these fitness and nutrition experts, and I was like, I could do that. I talk all the time. I love talking. I'm probably running through your memory card right now.
We might have to check it. No, we have so much more to go through.
And then all my life, everyone was like, well, today it sounds a little off because of my sinuses, but like you have a great radio voice.
You do. You really. It's a great podcast to listen to. Not just for the content, the voice.
I'll take it. Whatever gets a listener. Hopefully you listen to the content as well. But and then one day someone just said it, and it clicked. I was like, all right, I'll do radio. I'll do a podcast. And that was like summer, fall 2016. I started doing all the work and learning how to podcast, capturing content, interviews, scheduling people. And then we launched it on our dad's memorial, his passing.
Wow.
January 22nd, 2017. Yeah, and so this was all the while I was working full time. At that point, I was getting, I think, just about to transition into my promotion, so I was traveling a lot more, all up and down the East Coast. We were only doing 1 episode a week back then. Now we're doing 2 to 3 sometimes, and so that was just what I could commit to.
Right.
But I was recording with this tiny little microphone. I would lock myself in my apartment closet. Full disclosure, I would get so hot in there because there was no AC vent. I would like strip down my underwear and like be recording. I would be surrounded by my clothes and a microphone. I'm like, thank God this is not a video. I hope my video doesn't cut on. But I wanted to do it so bad, and so I just made it work with what I had. And so that was the first almost year, and then kind of reaching the boiling point with my company and realizing that I wanted to do more. I created our own thing. We launched Everforward Coach. We created a health tracker app for smartphones and an online coaching and consulting business. And that was October. We launched October 2017. The app launched, the coaching launched, the podcast was doing well. And that's when I decided, all right, I want to go all in on myself and really do this. I feel there's so much of this potential that I'm beginning to tap into. And I told myself, all right, in 90 days, work your ass off. I worked like 25/7, 25 hours a day, and I told myself, I gave myself a goal of, all right, don't touch your salary. So I was making my salary, but then I have to at least be able to match that each month. So give myself that for 90 days. I did it in actually 60, and then I wound up having another thing happen at work, and I gave them my formal notice. And my last day there was the end of December, the holiday time, and then January 1, 2018, it's been all me.
Wow. So, okay, started as a side hustle.
Yeah.
Then you gave yourself 90 days to put your full attention to it, even though you also had a job.
Yeah, full-time job. Yeah.
But you actually accomplished what you wanted to in 60 days. So, for someone like me, I'm a journalist right now at a news station. Hopefully my boss isn't watching this. If you are, I love you. But I'm
making her say this. It's
exactly. I eventually want to do my own thing, but 60 days, I'm not going to be able to. I want to be an independent journalist. I want to be an online influencer. It's taking me longer than 60 days. So what about people out there who have a side hustle? Maybe they've been at it for years.
Yeah.
Have you ever had moments where you wanted to give up or just say, I want to go back to my job? Or what would you say to someone? Should they quit after a year, after 2 years, or should they keep trying?
If you were here last week, I would have been like, yes, I'm quitting right now.
Okay, so you have those moments.
All the time. Yeah.
Can you talk about maybe, I don't know, one big challenge you've had where it just made you question everything?
Yeah. Recently, I've been putting a lot of time and effort into, I guess you could call it copy, writing, marketing materials, and basically getting all the things out of my head that I want to create and the value that I feel that we offer in certain programs and services. How do I convey that to the right type of person? In our industry, we're always trying to make sure we're talking to and attracting and selling our ideal client.
Yeah.
So I struggled with that for a little while because it was easy for me for all the years ago when I was doing this for somebody else, because my ideal client, all I had to do was open up my door and they would just walk in. They were already part of the industry, so I had to, I had very minimal work I needed to do in terms of creating that. Now, I knew once I had someone in the chair next to me or up on the treadmill or on the phone or whatever, I knew I was able to convey that value and give them results, whatever they're working on. Weight loss, weight gain, getting off medication, stress management, time management, prioritization, whatever it was. So I was spending a lot of time creating this copy and building these programs and packages and all these things that I'm supposed to be doing in this field. And I would launch and it would be crickets. And nobody was really responding, or if they were, they were like, oh wait, I have to pay for this, or they weren't the right type of client, or it just was not I would tell my wife this all the time. I was just feeling like my work, the amount of time and effort I'm putting into my work, the success, in terms of clients and revenue, and just engagement, was just not being reciprocated. And I was like, what am I doing wrong?
And by the way, was this on social media?
Yeah.
That you were presenting these packages? And
social media, I just started dabbling with Facebook ads a little bit, our email list. So 2 people who already knew me and were followers of mine and knew what I did.
At that point, how many, this is like 2016-ish, 2017?
17.
17?
Yeah.
At that point, how many followers do you have?
Like 11, 12,000.
Maybe on Instagram?
12,000.
And you put so much work into like these coaching programs. You put it out there, let's say you post it, and then just almost no.
I would say not no one, but just, of course, anyone you get passionate about a project, of course you're like, yeah, this is going to be great, everyone's going to love it. But when it's not reciprocated, or when not as many people reach back to you that you thought would, or they're not the right person. And in my infancy, like, those were the mistakes I had to make, and that was me saying yes to everybody. And that's when I started to work with people, because, again, it contributed to my goal of building revenue and showing myself and my wife and my family that, hey, I could create a sustainable business. I started taking on every client. But, for the same value that I was giving them, I was charging, less than $100 a month for something now that can cost double, if not triple. So it took a long time for me to really effectively be able to communicate, to speak that language of the person who needed to hear what I had to say to begin to work with me.
Okay, so you have so much passion inside of you. You want to help people. It's just a matter of how are you going to get them to realize it and get the right people.
Yeah.
I want to ask how you started doing that, but even more specifically, did it help to start also sharing yourself and your personal life online? Because what I notice is the people I'm attracted to most online open up their house to me, open up their family to me, and I'm like, I follow these YouTubers. Let's say you, for an example. I walked in Chase's house today. I knew his dog. I know what his wife looks like. I know what coffee you drink. And you almost feel like the people you follow are just so relatable that they can be your friend. They're not this like stoic, I'm an influencer and I'm going to help you get a 6-pack. It's more like, hey, look I'm a regular person like you. So was that part of your maybe strategy to get people to come to your page, or were there other things involved? Or had you already been showing your personal life?
Yeah, I think I probably have a little bit of an unfair advantage in that I think when I truly started sharing myself publicly, when I think social media began to be what we know it as now, I'm talking like 4 or 5 years ago. Again, it was just true to my character. I would love to talk to anybody. I'll talk to that wall. I think I'm hysterical. My wife would probably tell you differently. And so I just loved engaging. And that also was a great characteristic that made me, I think, very relatable as a coach and as a trainer, because when people come to see me, it wasn't like, yes, you have to get a 6-pack or else you're not healthy. I just opened up about myself. And I shared all of my military stories and my injuries and losing my dad and, travel and relocating and all of these things that people are like, wait, like, you experienced that too? So that human experience, I always feel like it was always easy for me. And in that day and age, it's just, I don't think people really knew that's how social media could be used. I think people were beginning to understand it. So I just thought it was cool. Like, whoa, there like 10 people from India just started following me or something like that. I still think that's amazing. Now that we can be connected on such a visceral level sometimes with people all around the world, that was amazing to me. Where I think now it's a little bit different as people view it as like, all right, how do I build this platform? I need to reach all these different types of people. And then like maybe the engagement will come later. And outreach versus engagement are 2 very different things. I think in my business and online coaching, and certainly in social media, people definitely confuse the 2. There's a big difference in outreach versus engagement. And for me, it was always about engagement. And then the outreach kind of just grew out of that. So I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you did. So then going back to kind of when you were kind of hearing crickets, as you put it.
Yeah.
What did you change then, or what did you do to start bringing people to see these packages you were presenting?
Yeah, well, after freaking out and after like having meltdowns, and you know, shout out to my wife for just constantly listening to what I would have to say. I you know, her and a lot of other people in my life, you know, what we were talking about before, just the power of relationships. Where I think, and I hope if you're listening and watching this, you pay attention here, where a lot of people don't know they're failing is because they don't have that support system. They don't have good relationships. And I would have, I probably, if I didn't have May and I didn't have all these other mentors and people in my life, I probably would have either not ever left my job or found a different job, or once I really realized the struggle it is to do your own thing, I probably would have looked for something else, you know, like, well, I can't do it, you know, I failed. I tapped into what I didn't realize, I now know is my greatest resource, and that is people, and that is relationships. And that is my wife, that is my family, that is all these other people who have done this before me and are doing it currently. People leaving their jobs, people creating a side hustle, and especially filtering down to people more in my profession, like the fitness, nutrition, wellness side of things. Luckily, I had built that relationship with them ahead of time so that I could say, hey, I had this huge bomb, or I'm not getting the feedback that I hoped for, or my price point, like, what do you think? Those people in my life don't have scarcity mindset, and they were willing to be like, hey, here's exactly what I did. Here's exactly what I charge. Here's exactly all these things, because they knew I'm not trying to like steal it from them, you know. I'm trying to just learn, and they're trying to learn. And so if you are struggling, if you are thinking about doing a side hustle or stepping out, or maybe you already have, I would really challenge you to get real about, all right, who else can I share this struggle with? And even if you don't have that support system, if you have 100 people who follow you, open up to them about it. When I do that, when I create a YouTube video or an Instagram story, and I'm just like, guys, here's some horrible stuff that I went through, or here's a struggle of mine, or I just want to call it quits today, the feedback and support I get from that is like tenfold. Because again, it adds to the humanization.
At that time, you're living in Virginia, you're reaching out to a few mentors. Who were those mentors, and did they live near you? Yeah,
so the first person I reached out to was my personal mentor and coach. Her name is Yetta, and she is someone that has been, we kind of have like a funny story. Ever since I moved back to Virginia out of the military, her and I always crossed paths. She was the wellness, fitness, nutrition entrepreneur of Richmond, Virginia. Once I realized that I wanted to do more of my own thing, I got official with her. I hired her, so I had that financial and, you know, professional accountability. And then other people, definitely my brother. I mean, because at that point he had already left his job about a year before, so he's probably going on like year 2 or 3 of doing his own thing. So it just kind of like like, hey Max, like, did you go through this? He's like, yeah, it sucks. Never like the deepest responses, love you bro, but it was good to know that somebody else related to that. So Yetta, my brother, when stuff really hit the fan, I reached out to Amanda Bucci, Brian DaCosta, a new friend of mine, Jason Phillips, someone who, oddly enough, was in Virginia as well, and we've gotten to be great friends and mentors this year. Another guy, Josiah Novak, probably a few resources of mine. All those people I mentioned care so much about individual and mutual growth that everything's an open book. So definitely those people, and then and then given always May. You know, she's always, I can't get rid of her. She's always here.
So I have a couple follow-ups with that. First, would you be one of my mentors?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because I got it on camera. No, just joking. No, but you already were. It's funny because even people who I've never spoken to in person, I do consider mentors. Just people I follow. But it's cool that you actually reached out. You know, kind of took that plunge and asked them, hey, you know, I need help.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll watch this. I'll send it to them. But literally the day that I decided to leave my job, when I was like, all right, my 90-day goal, I walked out of our headquarters out to the parking lot, and I got on the phone. I called May, I called Max, I called my mom, my stepmom, I called Brian, I called Amanda.
Wow.
Actually, I think Brian, I called both of them.
That makes total sense that they would be the ones you've called, because they did exactly that.
Yeah.
They were all working and ultimately left. So you mentioned your wife. Mm-hmm. Your wife is not in this field.
Sort of, kind of, not really. She's a nurse. So
well, she is that. She is now. She's in healthcare, and her blogs and her deep thoughts that she's been posting. I think is beautiful, and
she's been opening up more and more. Yeah,
I like that, and it's very relatable too. The way she does, but in general, she's not like a YouTuber. You know, she's mentioned before on your platform. Yeah. She's a little bit camera shy.
Total disclosure, she does not like social media at all.
Has that been more of a good thing to support you, or a challenge? For instance, what if you were married to another YouTuber, right? Do you think it's almost beneficial that she's not, because she gives an outside perspective? I'm asking, not putting words.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think in theory, one would want, or maybe not want, but you're like, oh, that'd be cool. If my significant other, my boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, whatever, was doing this, because then I always got a camera guy or always got a camera girl.
Yeah.
They understand when I need to film this or post it. I get it.
They get it.
But I can honestly say I'm really glad she's not, because in this world, and now by no means am I, social media isn't my full-time thing. I wouldn't even qualify myself as a social media influencer, but I do recognize, a certain amount of people follow me and engage, and so I guess at that level, yes. But I know a lot of people who are in it way deeper and, take it more seriously because it is their job. And that's what they want to do, and that's how they create their business and livelihood. In a way, it keeps you in a bubble. And it's very easy. I've caught myself, and a lot of my friends, again, people much bigger than me, they've shared this, it's so easy just to recognize that you create your own world, literally, so it's very easy to just stay in it and live in it. And you can forget, or maybe not even care as much, that there is another world going on around you, because, all right, well, I can create my own day. I can film whatever I want, write about whatever I want. My day is mine, which is, I think, a beautiful part of the job. But yeah, I'm really glad she's not, because it is a really good anchor to the outside world. Hey, that there are other people, there are other things, other parts of human existence that goes on. I think the rest of the world is evolving and growing, and things are getting a little bit more, fluid in terms of professions and people being able to create their own platforms and live their life and find fulfillment. But, the world doesn't always revolve around if you want to do an Instagram post, or if you want to film, if you want to vlog, you want to go out. Not everybody's okay with that. So it's been great. She's been a great resource, entertainment-wise, whenever she does pop on a video. And then as of late with the podcast, the extra episodes where her and I come on and talk about relationships, and she's been very resourceful and insightful, and a great reminder that just because Chase, you're creating your own world doesn't mean you get to live in it all the time, if that's understandable. That
makes perfect sense, and it's one of the more refreshing things about your platform, I would say. Because a lot of people I follow, they are either in a relationship with or married to someone in the same exact space. A lot of YouTubers are couples, a lot of Instagram people are couples, and I would encourage you guys to listen to his podcast episodes with his wife when they offer relationship advice, because in this world of social media and trying to get followers and trying to make a difference, they just bring this, I don't want to say normalcy, because that almost sounds not as glorified.
No, I understand.
But you really give guidance in the avenue of love as a separate entity to your individual success.
Awesome.
So,
thank you.
Very refreshing.
Yeah.
And it's also easy to kind of want to use people.
Yeah.
There are a lot of friendships and mentorships, but there's a fine line between, making a connection and having a common purpose, or just, use it, or feeling used, or using somebody to try to elevate your platform.
I'm a big believer in, whether it's with you, whether it's someone I've known for years, whether it's the barista at Starbucks, I'm a big believer in developing connections, building bridges, because you never know when, just because you walk over a bridge and you go on one way, in my 33 years on this earth, I've gone back to so many of those bridges that I never thought I would revisit or need. And again, going back to social media, because you can build your own world, you think you don't need any other bridges out. It's very sad, I guess I'll say, in the social media influencer world, where I see way too many people burning those bridges, or even worse, not creating them to begin with.
This conversation obviously is focused on you and your experiences, but I want to share something about me.
Cool, please.
Because I come from a small town, Buffalo, New York. Big Middle Eastern family, big Lebanese community in Buffalo. And I always kind of felt like the black sheep. And lately, as I dabble in the social media world, I sort of crave like-minded people. You know, I wish there were people around me that would kind of push me instead of some people in my family are like, wow, you're doing this, that's so cool. And then they're good with where I'm at, right? I want somebody to push me. You made the move from the East Coast to the West Coast. Do you find you have more people around you here that are driving you? And on that same note, is it possible for, you know, if someone's watching this and lives in Ohio or wherever, is it possible to kind of be your own catalyst, your own motivator?
Yeah, great question. I think a lot of people are waiting for that thing to happen. They're like, I can't live the life I want, I can't pursue what I want because like this thing hasn't happened yet, or this connection, this meeting, this whatever hasn't happened yet. Make it happen. That's one of the biggest things I look back, going back to the original question way in the beginning of, you know, with May, of, you know, I was just comfortable. I wasn't motivated. I wasn't driven. I was accepting where I was. Like, oh, this is good. Like, life is good. I have a roof over my head. I have friends. Stop idling and stop waiting for that thing to come to you. Go out and seek it on your phone, on the internet. Find a Facebook Live. Find a local speaking event. I call bullshit on people like that, because there's no reason why you should have to wait anymore this day and age. Hop on the internet, find a meetup. I think literally it's a company meetup. You can, and if you don't see a group that you like, you can make your own. You know, I want to be the mosaic vase builder club. I mean, whatever it is, if you don't see what's out there, if you don't go looking for it, you're never going to possibly find it. And then you can know for sure, I sought it out. It's not there. What's for me? So I'm going to build it. I'm going to create it. And then I'm sure you'll be surprised to see the amount of people that like, oh, I thought I was the only one. Like, I didn't know anybody else wanted to do this or had an interest in that. So I think people waiting, it's an excuse. It's fear. It's fear, which is totally fine. Like, fear is I think should be one of our greatest motivators. If you're afraid to do something, that's probably the thing, most likely the thing you need to be doing. Or at least you need to vet it out. You need to try it out. There's no reason to live in fear. You have to use it as a motivator. So seek it out. There's no reason why you living in, you know, look at us. We're in Southern California. You're from Buffalo, New York. Literally the complete opposite corners of the country. You know, but you decided to come out and visit family and reach out to someone that you wanted to talk to. And I'm so glad that you did. And you know, I think anyone watching this should do the same. Shoot an email, DM someone on Instagram, or just put out an email or a local Facebook ad, whatever. Build your own community. If you can't find what you're looking for, build the one you want.
That's amazing advice. And don't be discouraged if in the beginning, as you put it, there are crickets, right? Don't be discouraged. Yeah,
if there are crickets in whatever you put out or whatever you're seeking, that just means you're not... Nella!
Nella wants in on this
That means... I would challenge you to reflect back on that, because that means if you're not getting the response or the engagement or reaction you want, then are you seeking the right thing? You know, is your measurement for success, is that truly what you want? Are you asking the right questions? Are you using the right words? You know, look back at what you did is not a failure, but look at, okay, all right, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? Areas for sustainment, areas for improvement, you know, and just take that back, redo it, put it back out again.
Some people, and I've talked to some people, for instance, my little cousins, they're like, I want to make a YouTube channel, but you know, I don't have the right camera, I need the right lighting. Shout out to you guys. But what's cool about you and the Ever Forward brand is you and your brother Max, as you just mentioned, have kind of shared the journey along the way. So if someone maybe is like self-conscious and wants to appear successful on social media, you guys will share things along the way, like, hey, look, I just did my first launch, it sold 10, and with no embarrassment about that. And then you show us your life along the way, and someone who's been following, let's say, for 2-3 years, now I see you guys and I'm like, Ever Forward is blowing up, and I got to see it from the beginning.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, but you guys were never embarrassed, never ashamed to show just you guys starting, you know? So for someone who maybe wants to influence people, and like me, I was really self-conscious to start showing myself. Even today on the drive, I was like, should I show myself? You know, always questioning.
Yeah.
What would you, do you ever feel that way? How about that? Do you ever feel self-conscious to put up a camera, talk about your life, show your life, post it on YouTube?
No. And again, I'm probably not a fair example. I recognize I'm very weird, and my brother and I were very weird. It's just very much in our nature. We just love talking and sharing, and we've always used this medium. In a past life, it seems like we used to be heavy into like off-roading. We would build these massive Jeeps and trucks and like weld and fabricate in our mom's driveway, and like big rigs, and we would go, call it wheeling, go out in the woods and just like go crazy with these rocks and trails. And so then we used to film that. We would make these off-road videos. And then even around the same time, a little bit before that, my brother was like a punk skateboarder, like big mop hair and everything, and him and his friends would make skateboard videos. So we've always kind of like had this outlet to share that part of our journey and what we're going through. But I mean, so maybe that's why we're a little bit more comfortable in front of a camera. But again, just true to our nature, and again, not to make it sound like we're just some unicorns, but we are very comfortable with who we are. And for anyone who wants to do this, a camera, a podcast, any type of writing, video, audio, whatever, you will only be as successful as true to yourself you're being. If the wording, bear with me there. Where I think a lot of people get stuck is because they don't really know who they are. And you have to be your most true and authentic self. And if that is a shy, bashful person, embrace it. Be that. Own it. Embody it. But if you're like, well, I'm too shy, I'm too timid, or maybe I don't feel super confident in how I look or how I sound, but I want to do this. I want to film myself. I want to record, whatever. Just do it. Just do it and own it. If you put it all out there, you're not hiding anything for someone to later throw back in your face. Yeah, I mean, there's so many days where I'm like, great, woke up, I look like I haven't slept in days, or I got a giant zit, or I haven't groomed my beard, or whatever. I think, again, going back to what you were saying before, the humanization aspect. So many people are doing this type of stuff this day and age, and there's so much transparency. You have to be yourself, or else people are going to find it. They're going to weasel their little way in there, and they're going to make you feel more comfortable about the things that you're trying to hide. So I guess short answer is just do the work necessary, to be comfortable with who you are, figure out who your true and authentic self is. And honestly, I mean, you can get to a certain point where it's comfortable, but I do believe that work takes a long time, even a lifetime. Like, I'm still fine-tuning who I truly believe I am, but I know enough of who I am, more importantly, who I'm not, and the standards that I want to uphold in my life. Again, like we were saying before, don't let fear be a reason for you not to reach your full potential or find that full sense of fulfillment in life, because you're only going to be doing yourself a disservice. So just whatever you think you are or not, embrace it and just do the damn thing.
I think that's great, to differentiate between being confident in who you are or being like clear in who you are. We're always on a path of like, who am I, and trying to figure this out. But if you're going to wait to put your life online until you're 100% sure of who you are, you're going to wait forever.
That will never come. There's no perfect time. Yeah. Done is better than perfect, because perfect will never come. Absolutely. Beautiful quote. Yeah. So you don't get self-conscious. So you're a unicorn in that way. But every other way, you're very relatable. Again, I think that I've recognized that, and you have to pay attention to the thing. Be aware of the gifts that you're already giving people. Be aware of the gifts that others already receive from you. And again, for me, it's always been in my social media and with my clients, it's always been the humanization aspect. They're like, oh, like you're not just some like guy up on a pedestal who's yelling at me to do 20 more push-ups kind of thing, or put down the donut because I eat the donuts. You know, I live my active life and I eat the donuts. Is the humanization aspect, and so I become more aware of that, and it's helped me be more comfortable. So regardless of how I feel, I look or sound, just the important thing is showing up.
That's amazing advice, and I struggle with that too. I'm like, I'm not going to film today. I don't look my best. I'm not having a good hair day. But then you look at all these other people putting out content every day, and you're just going to fall behind.
Yeah, absolutely.
So done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
We talked about how hard it is to break away from the 9 to 5. You did it, gave yourself 90 days. What about someone watching who does have a dream, and maybe it has nothing to do with social media or health or wellness, but they're afraid to break away of what people expect of them? You know, a lot of people are pushed into being a doctor or an engineer. Maybe they have another passion. I don't know, what would you say to them?
Well, first of all, it sounds like you're describing every Middle Eastern family I know.
And he's catching on. This guy's smart.
Trust me, it was excuse me, it was very creative when I had to when I would tell May's parents like what I do, especially when I left my job. Like, wait, he just like sits in front of the computer all day? I'm like, yes, I just clack my keyboard all day. Like, not a doctor, not a lawyer. I love my in-laws, by the way. Yeah, so to that I would say a couple of things. You really probably need to break away from that environment. Physically, socially, I'm a big believer, and that's one of the big reasons why we moved from Richmond, Virginia we moved up to Arlington, Virginia first, but DC shortly after, just because every time I went there I was like, wow, this place is so driven, the people here are so motivated. Like, whether or not I think they're fulfilling their life's purpose, everyone's on the go, everyone's doing something, they're very professional, so that environment was very motivating. Excuse me. Whereas Richmond, I love Richmond. Some of my best friendships and relationships are there. The food is amazing. But again, I was just like feeding into idling and being comfortable. And I was like, look, you know, I love you guys in this place, but I need that stimulus. If I want to just see what I'm capable of, I want to add that environmental aspect. So I would say number one, definitely break away from the environment. Whether you have the ability to leave your family or get out of a relationship or a job, just a simple task of finding somewhere conducive to the goals you want to create or the work you want to do. So if you can't leave your house, if you can't leave your job, if you can't leave your family, whatever, just carve out time for yourself, like once a day, once a week. Go to a park, go to a coffee house, and just make your own environment that is going to be conducive to that. And after that, I mean, seriously, find a mentor. Find someone who is further along that path that you want to go down, or you think you want to start. You know, I believe we all create our own paths, but you know, there's always someone out there who has taken at least one step more than you. And I guarantee you'll be hard pressed to find someone who is not going to be willing to, if they're in it for the right reason, if they truly care that much about the personal development and they believe in the process over the prize, you'll be hard pressed to find someone. May not be the first person, may not be the second person, but you will find someone who will give you the time of day, who will, you know, sit down and have coffee with you, who will reply to an email, whatever. You know, and for me, for a long time, that mentor was a podcaster I listened to for a long time, and then, you know, authors. You know, you can find a mentor in a book, in an audio book, you know,
so
in a show. I mean, you don't need to go hire somebody. I do believe that's a great start, but if you truly want effective change and you want to take it seriously, you want to take yourself seriously, I'm a firm believer, and probably a little bit biased because it's part of my profession, but you need to find someone professional. You need to find someone who is going to hold you accountable, ideally if they're in that field that you're in, so they can school you, give you the education on success, that, you know, the hardships, the obstacles, the successes that they went through, so that you can you know, take what you need out of them and apply them to your own path. So, you know, environment for sure, and then mentorship.
Great advice. And they say you're the sum of the 5 people you most closely associate yourself with. And I've heard that those 5 people can include an author, someone you listen to. If you're listening to the same podcaster every week when he or she puts out an episode, you can include that.
Yeah, so true. Because I I would definitely define a mentor as someone who is going to be reliable and consistent, trustworthy, and that you already know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
And absolutely, if there's an author who has like a great series of books out, or a podcaster that puts out 1 show a week, 2 shows a week, whatever, you always know that, all right, great, there's my accountability. You know, every Monday and Thursday, whatever it is, I'm going to be tuned into this show. I'm going to listen to this book. You have to build that infrastructure. You have to build that. You have to provide that infancy of accountability. Because if you just allow yourself, like you're saying, like, oh, I'll get to it when it's perfect or when I have more time, there's never going to be time.
And I think baby steps are huge.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's very easy to compare to your chapter 1 to someone's chapter 10.
Yeah.
You're looking at someone's Instagram, they have 1 million followers. You're like, I want to share my path, but I'm never going to have 1 million followers. It's like, that's not the point. So
yeah, that's the only reason why I don't have 1 million followers, is because I refuse to do booty shots. That's it. That's the only reason.
If only you would give the world some booty shots, Chase. No, I'm the same way. I'm the same way. I'd rather be authentic to myself.
I'm sure this day and age, as a female online, putting yourself on social media, like, I can't even imagine. I mean, it's totally unfair. Like, I see, like, the standards and what people are up against. You know, if everybody could just be looked at as a true and authentic self, I think a lot of people would see a big decline in their following. Because, like,
interesting.
Like, what do you bring to the table other than booty shots or something like that? You know? So
to end this, I thought we'd have some fun. I have some rapid fire questions that have nothing to do with serious, influential stuff. So this is to break it up.
Let's
so
do it, yeah.
You don't know these. I did not send you these ahead of time. You ready for this?
I am. Let's go.
Here we go. All right. Hot or cold climate?
Hot.
Same. Favorite cheat day food?
Toss up between pizza and donuts. Probably donuts.
And are you more of a salty or sweet person?
Oh, like savory sweet.
Yeah.
You know, I used to not think I had a sweet tooth, but I definitely realized I have a pretty big sweet tooth. Yeah.
Same here. Favorite city in the world?
Prague. It's really neck and neck. Prague or Florence. Czech Republic or Italy. But yeah, I love Prague. Yeah.
I've never been. It's cool.
Go.
I'm going to. Beer, liquor, or wine?
Beer.
Favorite movie ever?
Dumb and Dumber.
Good choice. A weird talent you have that no one would really know?
Ooh. Maybe some people close to me know this, but I think I'm pretty good at impersonations. Like, I can reciprocate voices. I think it may be like the language training coming out of me. I pick up on, like, audio very well, and, like, subtleties and vernacular and things like that. So I can basically repeat people's voices pretty well.
That's hard to do.
Yeah.
I'm not good at that.
Not female voices, because I can't get my voice that high.
Oh, impressive. You are a baritone.
Yeah, that's mostly guy impersonations, I guess we'll say.
Okay, very cool. Nike or Adidas?
Ooh.
I mean, you can't put ever forward in this category.
Good, fair point. Probably Nike. Yeah.
Cool. Favorite date night activity?
Ooh. I mean, classic movie. A big movie fan. May and I both. We go to movies probably like once a week. Dinner and movie, you can't go wrong. Plus, nowadays there's so many great theaters that you can do dinner and a movie together.
That was it.
Okay, cool.
So I would encourage anyone watching this to check out Chase's platforms. His YouTube is super entertaining, super valuable and motivating content. Podcast, probably my favorite.
My favorite.
Yes, it's amazing. And if you are interested in making a change in your life, whether it's physical, mental, professional, check out his coaching program. Really.
Thank you.
You're the man.
Lisa Hoy. Thank you.
So impressed all the time. Thanks, guys.
See you. Thank you.